Here's a story we got from the New York Post. Doctor who worked with Biden says he had cancer while he was president. He did not develop it in the last 100 to 200 days. In fact, he went on, quote, he had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, I don't think there's any disagreement about that. Now, Donald Trump has issued a statement, and he came out questioning the Gleason score of 9, which is aggressive. I talked to Dr. Drew today, and Dr. Drew and a bunch of other prominent medical doctors have been coming out making statements about this, and he made it clear. This is a guy who has prostate cancer himself, Dr. Drew, and who treats it and diagnoses it. And he said there's no chance that they were doing a routine exam and found that he had stage 4 terminal prostate cancer metastasized to the bone.
Yeah.
That's insane. Let's pull up this clip from Trump real quick and hear what he had to say.
Everybody, but it's given just about, and it takes a long time to get to that situation. Now, I think, to get to a stage 9, I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there, and that's being proven to be a sad situation. And the auto pen is becoming a very big deal. The auto pen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the auto pen. But when they say that that was not good, they also, you have to look and you have to say that the test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed, and I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor, if it's the same, or even if it's 2 separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability, why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out to everybody. But
I think we need committees. We need the Biden Infirmity Committee to start issuing subpoenas to all the people in the administration and even some journalists. I'm not saying criminal charges for journalists. Calm down, liberals. I'm saying journalists should be subpoenaed to answer questions about what they knew behind the scenes and what they were choosing to report. Because people like Jake Tapper, who come out now with this book, oh, yeah, he was impaired, but the whole time during the administration, he kept defending Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know who their sources were and what they actually knew. Because as Trump points out, as everybody else is pointing out, this is not something Biden just got recently. He's had this for years. Mm-hmm. So dare I say, when big tech, the corporate press, and the entire political party and the White House, everybody was covering this up, it's the biggest scandal in U.S. history.
100%.
When Dan Bongino had his show going, he would say regularly, and he would tweet this out regularly, it's whatever the date is, and Joe Biden is the worst president in American history. And we're now it's May. We're not even 6 months since Joe Biden left office, and it's become abundantly clear that not only was Dan Bongino right, Joe Biden had likely the most corrupt and dishonest presidency in American history, whether it be hiding his own ability to do the job because he was clearly incapacitated because of, whether it be sundowners or dementia or whatever, some cognitive impairment. The diagnosis that has been announced today, everybody that was close to him had to have known about it. It wasn't hidden. You get these diagnoses and it's not, oh, hey, it just happened now. The way that his family was behaving while he was parading. Well, not only parading him around, but the corruption. His brother, the way that he was protecting his son, the likely payola that his son was involved in, going to picking up bags of cash from Ukraine, bags of cash from China. The Joe Biden administration, and that's just the Biden administration. Never mind the surrounding apparatus. Never mind the administration. Never mind the media that was actually involved in the cover-up. It wasn't just like, oh, we missed it, like Jake Tapper tries to pass off. They were actively involved in covering this up.
This was Woodrow Wilson administration on steroids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he was incapacitated for a while. His wife took over, and but Biden's whole time was like that, And like FDR, they covered up his legs for a long time, and they would chase down journalists if they were going to write something about his faulty legs.
And that is crazy too.
Yeah,
but those are legs.
Yeah,
this was
Joe Biden's brain worked as well as FDR's legs.
But brain substantially, if they had told the American people that his legs didn't work, but don't worry, he's of sound mind.
Right.
Oh, they would have kept running.
Yeah, I think they'd lose too much in the polls to win, but we wouldn't be having a conversation like this if it was like Biden's legs didn't work.
Right.
We'd be like, oh, that's really, really sad. But he's giving orders. Is he of sound mind? No. The fact and the fact of the matter is, Biden's legs do work. Not particularly well, but they do. And we don't care if they do. Yeah. We care that his brain didn't work. Right. And they were covering up that he's got terminal diagnosis. Yeah. Now, I want to add this to the story. And the first thing I want to say is, I don't know what the right word is for this, but I'm sorry to hear about Scott Adams and his diagnosis for prostate cancer as well. He mentioned that he has metastasis to the bone as well, and he's given himself months to live. And so, I'm sorry to hear. I don't like hearing anybody is sick or dying, and even if it is Joe Biden, right? Yeah. So, but Scott's insight on this, it's really fascinating. I don't know. I wanted to make sure we got in that mention of Scott Adams going through this as well. Is a big story, and it is sad because we're dealing with cancer's a scary thing. But the Biden administration actively covering up. I don't know. I don't want to, I guess, conflate the failures of Biden with me giving my condolences to Scott Adams. So I'll just pause there.
Scott distilled reality into the greatest quote with the 2 movies, 1 screen. And that is like Biden, because there's half the country seeing a viable, living human.
Thank you. You saved me. I was trying to draw that contrast of a man of sound mind who is undergoing this. And then I kind of felt I don't want to conflate the two things necessarily. I want to, but that's the point. Yeah. Well, there's another individual who's been in the space, who's been an advocate, and who's called out the lies, and he's dealing with as well. But you can see that the diagnosis isn't the issue; it's the ability of mind and whether or not the person is capable of doing the job. And Scott Adams seems to have had no problem distilling truth, facts, and calling out lies while dealing with this condition for a long time.
Well, and I'm curious too, if Biden has had this for so long, for years, it sounds like he's been dealing with this. Did they just not go put him into treatment because they were trying to continue to put him in front of the American people long enough to try to either get him across the finish line?
Why do you think
3 months prior, they're like, okay, you're not going to make it. We got to put Kamala in, but we still need you healthy at least to try to help Kamala. None of it worked.
Dude, why do you think he campaigned from a basement? He campaigned from. I think he knew for a long time.
I'm sure he knew,
and they were probably
they weren't giving him treatment for it.
I think they were, and they were weaning him off.
Well, no. I think you're right. I talked to Dr. Drew about this, and I'll tell you what he said. But first, I want to play this clip for you.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That wasn't a slip of the tongue.
No.
Windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Now, they claimed at the time, skin lesions. That's what he was talking. Nobody. No. The first thing I thought was talking about oil slicks on the windshield. Nobody who gets skin lesions goes, "Oh, it's the oil slicks on the windshield." So I talked with Dr. Drew earlier today. You just made a point about denying him the treatment, and what Dr. Drew brought up is the possibility that they intentionally withheld treatment because the treatment for prostate cancer is, I forgot the terminology, but it is effectively stopping androgens. He said in the past they'd literally just castrate men to slow the progress of the cancer. Now they do things like Lupron, which will inhibit androgens and slow the progress. However, it will impair you cognitively. And so it may be that they knew he had cancer, and there are concerns about if we give him this treatment and he's already showing signs of Parkinsonism, you'll make it substantially worse.
Yep. And wasn't that video around the same time of the Ben-Hur interview?
I think this is 2022. I don't think Ben-Hur was it 23?
Is this from when the ship hit the bridge?
No. I don't think so.
Oh, I thought it was.
Well, no, that was 22. I know,
okay.
But so all I'm saying is because the Hur, he was talking and rambling then as well. Couldn't remember when his son, died, and he's kind of rambling now. It's the same kind of ramble that's taking place, and he's just kind of willingly, and I've got cancer, throwing it out there. I remember posting that on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure I got hit with a fake news strike, like, oh no, he didn't say he had cancer. It's not what he meant. It's like, it's what he said.
What's funny is that he lies so much about his life and the things that he's done.
Yeah.
That some actually could have entertained the fact that he was saying I have cancer as a lie for sympathy. So many people affected by the pollution.
But now we know he had it.
Oh yeah.
So he wasn't lying. He was spilling the beans on accident.
I think he's got every disease. Every single one of them.
He sounds like it.
Yeah. It's like Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
When he has the oversized novelty germs.
Yep.
Because, we're here. Dr. Drew says he has Parkinsonism, which is the hands are shaking, the face is masked, droopy, and what did he call it? I forgot he described a bunch of things. He's a doctor. I'm not a doctor. He's got all these medical terms, but he knows more about this than I do. But he basically laid it all out that we don't know why he was suffering these symptoms. Maybe it was Parkinson's. Maybe it was age-related. His doctor certainly knows. So we need those answers.
Exactly.
And then you combine that with the fact that the dude clearly has cancer. I wonder if, what he also mentioned was really fascinating. One of the side effects of treatment for prostate cancer is falling, muscle atrophy, diminished cognition.
Maybe he was getting treated. And that's
right.
Part of the other reason why his mind was so gone. He couldn't walk upstairs. Couldn't ride a bicycle. Right? Couldn't stop on a bicycle.
Anti-androgens is what he was.
Yes.
Yeah, anti-androgens.
So, I had another thought. You guys remember back in the end of the Trump term, the first term, Nancy Pelosi put together that committee, the 25th Amendment Committee through Congress?
Yeah.
And at first, everybody said she's trying to create a way to get rid of Trump. And then there was kind of like 30 minutes of that. Then everyone went, nah, she's talking about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
This was before he got elected.
Yeah, it was.
And
She knew.
That's
I
right.
bet they all knew. But they didn't have a better candidate at that point.
Exactly. You know what I think? I think they knew that he was terminal. I think they had a meeting and said, what if we lose Congress? Would Kamala Harris actually invoke the 25th and get rid of this guy? Would we actually be able to get it through Congress? Nope. Republicans are going to be like, nah, we're not getting you out of this one. You're gonna rock this bad presidency. So she took action while they still had a majority and wanted to make sure she could to create this 25th Amendment Committee so that they had an independent board that could remove Joe Biden when they felt necessary. But it also is about what information they want to give out. Yeah. I think the play was Joe Biden gets in, he dies, Kamala Harris becomes president.
Dies or has to step down because he's got cancer, either one. But I think that was 100%. I think that was the play as well. That was their goal. That was their end game. And again, the auto pin proves that he was a puppet the whole time.
Yeah.
That's where it's scary.
Somebody else was running the country, not Joe, not even Kamala at that point. At that point, I think during any point, I think that's what we really need to find out is who was the one behind Joe that was actually making the decisions for our country.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Joe.
Yeah. And
that was our goal. Get Joe across the finish line. And then when they saw that wasn't going to work, let's throw Kamala in at the last minute, give her all the money in the war chest. Maybe she got as VP on the ticket, which again, all that should
Maybe they really thought that women of color, regardless of personality, could win.
They did that with Obama though.
Yeah.
So many. Like I got blasted by like I'm half black, right? My dad's side is black. My mom's side is white. And so my mom always said I got the best of both worlds. and I believe I do. But my dad's side of my family, so many of them voted for Barack because he was black, as did so many of the black community. Yeah. I did not because of the issue of abortion. I said, I don't care what color he is. He voted against a bill that would provide medical treatment to babies that survived abortion, and he voted in favor of partial birth abortion. I don't care what color this guy is. He's not getting my vote.
I don't know.
But the black vote did overwhelmingly go to Obama, and I think the white sympathizers like, oh, a black president would be great, and he sounds great, and everything else. I don't think it worked. It didn't work with Kamala. It didn't have the same effect.
I had a friend in Chicago, and this is back during when Obama was running, and he was black. We were skating, we were hanging out, and his grandmother, she was like, "Are you going to vote for Obama?" And he's like, "I don't know." She was like, "You have to. He could be the first black president." And he goes, "Does that mean he's going to be a good president?"
Exactly.
And I was like, "Damn!" I was like,
"Exactly."
We didn't say based back then, but he hit the nail on the head with a hammer.
I wrote that in my book. I'm working on my.
I still voted for Obama though.
I did not. I wrote about that in my book. That when I still remember where I was at. I was in a pub in Laguna Beach, and I was watching the TV, and it came across Barack Obama has been elected president of the United States. And what I felt inside was so weird because I felt, excited or thankful, I guess, appreciative that a black man became president. But then it was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with just apathy, just a darkness, a kind of depression, feeling like this guy is not going to represent the black community well.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.